everyone. Welcome back to the Brick City Brown Chick Show. And this week, I wanted to talk about something that is an important tenet of Christianity that I think a lot of people get really, really wrong. And that is the concept of forgiveness. If you grew up in any Christian denomination, Pentecostal, African Methodist Episcopalian or AME, or Episcopalian or Lutheran or Catholic, if you grew up in any of those denominations, you understand the importance and the power of forgiveness. It is very important among Christian doctrine that people forgive. And what you will frequently hear people say is, we, meaning human beings, need to forgive the way Jesus forgave. And in Catholicism, particularly, this is an important concept. And what people will always bring up is you need to turn the other cheek. And what that means is when someone wrongs you, instead of getting angry or wanting revenge, you should turn your cheek and walk away. In other words, if somebody slapped you in the face, instead of retaliating, you should just turn around and walk away and let it go. This is a concept that gets brought up in numerous ways and situations where it should not apply. One of the most, we'll call it, disturbing instances where this occurred is the shooting at Mother Emanuel AME Church that happened almost a decade ago. The shooter, Dylan Roof, a white supremacist, walked into this church where people were having a prayer meeting. He prayed with them for a couple of hours, and then he got up and shot them all and killed 9 people. In the immediate aftermath, I remember distinctly hearing people talk about forgiveness. He had literally just been captured and confessed to what he had done, and people were already talking about how the families of the people who had been killed had come out and announced that they forgave him for what he did. I was raised a Christian person. Both of my parents are Christians. I grew up in the Catholic Church. My parents are not Catholic. That's a whole nother story. But I grew up with that sense of you really need to forgive people when they wrong you. What I have come to understand as a grown woman is that forgiveness is a choice. And it's a choice that every individual needs to make. And the answer is not always, yes, I forgive this person. My reaction to what happened at Mother Emanuel Church in the immediate aftermath was, what do you mean you forgive him? He hasn't even said he's sorry. And that is a huge component of forgiveness. It's very easy to say that you should forgive because that's how Christians view the world. But my instinct is that I am not forgiving anyone for anything if they don't express remorse. Now, the Christians have issues with this view because it doesn't take into account we should forgive regardless, because that's the view that forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is for the person who was wrong, not for the person who did the wrong. That's how I was raised. I completely understand that feeling. But I also think very strongly that humanity doesn't work that way. I do not fully understand how it is possible to truly and sincerely forgive someone who has wronged you when they express no sorrow and no remorse. So I have, as an adult, really moved away from the concept of what I call forgive at all costs. And the reason this is so important in Christianity is because as Christians, people are expected to follow the example of Jesus. Jesus was the Son of God. Catholics particularly believe that Jesus was both fully God and fully man. That particular belief is problematic for me in terms of whether I forgive or not, because the reality is, if you believe that Jesus was fully God and fully man, how can I, as a mere human being, be as forgiving as Jesus was? Because I am not God. This is one of those philosophical debates that will likely never be fully either understood or remedied. But what I would like to say to people is you have to examine your own heart when it comes to whether you forgive someone or not. It depends on the situation, the relationship you have with that person, and at the end of the day, whether it is really in your heart to forgive them. Now, if you forgive someone for something they do and they come back around later and do the exact same thing, okay, you know better. You know that forgiving them did not have the effect of them learning their lesson and not repeating their mistake. Mistakes that are repeated regularly are called habits. They are no longer mistakes. So I would not venture to tell you, as a listener, as a viewer, whether you should or shouldn't forgive people, or whether you believe the Christian tenet of forgiveness at all costs is right or wrong. What I will tell you is that for me, I have gotten much more selective as I've gotten older on people's actions and whether I forgive them or not. And that is a decision that everybody needs to make for themselves. But don't let what you were told or conditioned to believe to affect how you move in the world today. As adults, we are all responsible for our own actions, and we're also responsible for how we react to situations and to people. So make sure that whatever your reaction is when someone wrongs you is right for you. Okay? Thank you very much for listening this week, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye bye.